WCEGtalkradio.com. You can watch us live on your smart TV on YouTube, on Twitter, Facebook, and LinkedIn on the WCEG Network. I'm Wardell Richardson, your show host here for the next hour on WCEG The Hollywood of the South. We're your worldwide community empowerment group where we speak life into the community. Subscribe free to our YouTube channel on the WCEG Network. Like, follow, and connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, IG, and LinkedIn. Now, we're all over the place, y'all. When I say everywhere, we're everywhere. We're on mobile apps, which is on iOS, Apple, iPhones, and iPads. You can go to the Apple Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. On Apple TV, you can search for WCEG Network TV. On the Apple Watch, you can search under WCEG Network. On Android mobile phones and tablets, you can go to Google Play Store and search for WCEG Talk Radio. Last but not least, the topics and opinions are those of the show host and guests and not those of WCEG Network. Thank you for your continued support. Once again, I am Wardell Richardson here on WCEG The Hollywood of the South. Thank you guys for tuning in. I'm very excited. I have been gone for a while. I've been gone for a while because I have to get a little education in. I got some great things going on. Rain Dance Films got a lot of the great things going on. As you know, I'm a filmmaker, actor, producer, director. I do a whole plethora of things, and we have a lot of great things going on. TV series, movies, I got it all. And I have been in school to get myself more familiar with certain things in the industry. I've been in it more than 15 years, and I'll still have things to learn. So you never stop learning once you get into this field. I'm very excited about my guest I have tonight, but before I bring her on, we have to say congratulations to the one and only Penny Rogers, the queen of WCEG. She will be honored at the National Black Radio Hall of Fame. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a huge accomplishment. And she always chills when I call her the queen, but she is the queen of WCEG for real. You know what I'm saying? She is the queen of WCEG, and she is one of my main partners in my film company. So I am very blessed to know her. She is a wonderful person, and she deserves everything that's coming her way. So congratulations again. We at WCEG The Hollywood of the South, honor the great, the legendary Penny Rogers. She is on, y'all. She is on. It gets no better than that. Secondly, there is something great going on this weekend, and that great thing that's going on this weekend is my birthday. So I am turning the big 50 on Saturday. And see, people look at me and they be like, get out of here, you're not that old. I'm like, yo, I am 50. I just hit the big 50, and I feel good. I'm excited. You know, I got some things planned this weekend, some things I don't know that I have planned. Some people plan to do some surprises for me. I have no idea what those are, but I am excited about this weekend. This is a big milestone for me because, as y'all know, I'm just blessed to make it to 50. This world is crazy, and the things that's going on in this world is insane. And I'm just happy that I have made it successfully to the age of 50. And because there's so many people that has passed away at a young age, and you know, our condolences go out to them because I'm gonna tell you, as a black man on this planet, we have to always look out for ourselves no matter where we go. Our protectors are sometimes not our protectors. And we have to be on our P's and Q's and be adamant about who we are as men and stand up for ourselves as much as we can. We have families. I have kids, you know, and I love my children. So with that being said, you know, I am just thankful to make it to this part of my life. I'm not ready to go nowhere yet. I still have a lot of things to do. And one thing I'm going to do is interview this guest that I have on tonight. Now, I actually saw her in LA. And I didn't say anything to her. I was kind of like nervous. I just stood back, didn't say nothing. So I just let it go. When I got back home, I went online. I said, "Hey, I saw you," and she was like, "Why didn't you say anything?" I said, "Look, I didn't want to bother you. I'm just that type of guy. I see people who I deem celebrity-ish when I go out quite often, and I just don't want to be like one of the people running up and be like, "Hey, can we get a picture? Can we do all that kind of stuff?" But she is as lovely right here on today as she was when I saw her in LA. I am so honored to have her on the show tonight. This woman has music that is unbelievable, and we will be talking about all of that. Miss Jennifer Edison, how are you?
Hello. That was a wonderful introduction. I'm good. And first, let me say happy early 50th.
Thank you.
Listen,
Thank you
5
very much.
that's a very special milestone. It's a very
Yes,
milestone. And you're right, a lot of people don't make it to 50, but
that's right.
it's like a new beginning almost.
Yes, it
Yeah.
is. And to me, that's exactly how I'm taking it. I'm like, okay, what is my goals after 50? Like, number one, fitness. I want to stay in shape. I want to make sure that I see my young ones graduate and all that kind of stuff. It's so many things that go through your mind. But
Mm-hmm.
staying in shape, fitness, making sure I get, I'm still going to school, still trying to educate myself because I want my business to flourish,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to do that as long as I keep my mind set in that direction.
Why you look so young and the skin is tight.
But you, on the other hand, you are have a lot going on. So first, you are from Detroit.
Yes.
Now tell us about your life in Detroit and what made you move to LA because you're now in LA.
Yes.
So how was it living in Detroit?
So I grew up in a city called Southfield. So those that are familiar with Detroit, it's part of the Metro Detroit area, but it's like a little suburb right outside of the city.
Hmm.
Yeah, my whole family is from Detroit, and I have a
Okay.
huge family. When I say huge, I have about 150 cousins that I know by name, and we
Oh
all
wow.
in the same church and literally saw each other multiple times a week. So,
Wow.
yeah, my parents are like one of 10 each, and then each of their siblings had anywhere from 4 to 12 kids. So, a bunch of
Wow.
Mhm.
Now that's funny because that's almost like my family's the same way. We all grew up in Atlanta, same church.
Okay.
It's interesting. So I can relate to that. I can
Yeah,
definitely relate to that.
yeah, yeah.
Now, have been around them, or was it difficult at times, like being, pulling away and doing whatever you want to do, or were you like, because a lot of times when you're around your relatives and stuff, as much as you're saying that you was around yours, you kind of tend to migrate to whatever they're doing and put your stuff on the shelf. Was that similar to anything that you had to go through?
Um, like so I didn't school was kind of separate from from church. So church was kind of like family, mostly family, and then we had school where you make friends outside of family. So there was
Okay.
a bit of balance there. Um,
Hmm.
as far as like doing things outside of family and developing relationships outside of family. But I did spend a lot of time with family. Like I grew up kind of sheltered. My mother, she didn't let us go spend the night over friends' houses, so we had like cousins that could come over. And so when it came to that kind of stuff, it was kind of restricted to family. We hung out with our
Okay.
cousins, and then at school we hung out with friends. But it wasn't a situation where I didn't feel like I could do anything outside of family.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So what was it? So eventually you had moved to LA. What was it that made you move to LA? Because that's a big move from
It
Detroit
is.
to LA.
It is. I'm adventurous. I always wanted to do music, and I was doing music at the time. I started writing when I was maybe like 11 or 12. And
Okay.
and then I ended up joining a gospel group that was all family. And so me and my sister joined this gospel group, and it was all of my aunts. It was all
Okay.
of my aunts, and my mother and my dad was like the director and musician. And so once I went to college, I was like, I wanna do my album. I wanted to write songs and write for myself. And as soon as I graduated, I went to Michigan State. And as soon as I
Okay.
graduated, I'm like, I want to go to LA. So I was like, I'm out.
Now, LA is a big change to go there. So when you got out there, did you already have a plan, people out there that you knew or anything?
Anybody out there. So what I did, I went to FITM. So I graduated Michigan State, and I went to fashion design school out
Okay.
in LA. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to FITM. I'm gonna get acclimated with LA. My cousin came out with me. So her and I were living in Westwood for a couple of years. And I don't know, I'm the type of person where I flew home a lot. Back then flights were cheap. You could get it was
Yeah.
West before it was Delta. So you could get like a flight for less than $200. So whenever I felt like I wanted to go back home, I flew back home. But I'm not one to really get homesick. I kind of feel like I don't meet strangers because I
Yeah.
can, kind of acclimate in any environment. And I wanted to spread my wings. So that to me was my focus.
Okay. What was your biggest influence in singing? Because I read that your great aunt is the incredible Florence Ballard of the Supremes.
Yes. Yes. Florence Ballard is my great aunt. It's my grandmother's sister on my mother's side. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, like singing is all throughout my family. On my mom's
Okay.
side, like all my cousins can sing, and my aunts, and then on my dad's side, they don't have the Ballard connection, but they all can sing too. So, and I think it's just kind of like that Motown era just kind of birthed a bunch of singers, and they just kept it kept it kept being handed down, I guess, like in the DNA. So as far as like musical influences, I can't really say that it was Motown because that was like a little bit before my time. You
Right.
uh, but that influence was in those that came before me. There it was
Okay.
in my parents, and so music has just always, it's one of the things about Detroit that's very musical. You're gonna go to the churches in Detroit and they're gonna have choirs, and you're gonna have people
Right.
blow.
Right.
It's not uncommon, to find a great singer in Detroit.
Right. So when you went to LA, you decided to do R&B. And
Mhm.
I'm surprised you didn't stick with gospel. What was why not stick with gospel? What was it about R&B that drew you to that?
Um, you know, I just wanted the freedom to be able to write whatever I wanted
Mhm.
to write and not be
Right.
restricted to any topic. And I always have like something inspirational, like every album has something inspirational in it. Um,
Okay.
I think I just wanted the freedom to reach people in different ways and to talk about different things. And with gospel is a great genre, and it's dedicated to just specifically paying your thanks to God, or just talking about your experience with God. And that's what it is. You can't necessarily talk about, your love life in gospel. So it's
Right.
like, I just wanted the freedom to speak about different topics.
Gotcha. Now, in doing that, I see, we see on social media or out now in the world how they mold these artists into a certain kind of picture. In
Mhm.
other words, they're half naked, they're dressing very provocatively, and
Mhm.
you always wonder, okay, what are you selling? Are you selling the music, or are you selling you over the music to compensate for what you're lacking in the music? You
Mhm.
understand what I'm saying?
Mhm.
You're not like that. You're very classy. You're very Your music is very soulful and melodic. What is it? Why hasn't the world changed you in the way that they have changed other people? What is it about you that says, nah, I'm not doing that?
That's a good question. Because I do think that the pressure is out there for a lot of
Yeah,
people. And
right.
it just depends on who you are at the core and what you
Hmm.
want to present to the world, what your message is. And I think for some people, being naked might be authentic to them. And then for a lot
Right,
of people, it's not, and they conform in order to get to the next level. And I'm very justice oriented. I don't know if it's the Libra in me, but I can't do something that I don't believe in. And
right.
I can't put my energy into something that isn't authentic to me. So I'm
Okay.
going to stick to that no matter what, even if I have to turn things down, which I have, I'm not going to compromise what I believe in and who I am just to make a dollar.
Right. And
Yeah.
does that make it harder for you as an artist?
It makes it astronomically harder with sticking to your principles.
Yeah.
Industry is it's rough, you know,
Yes.
it's very rough. And over the years, you learn you're gonna have to make a choice of who you're gonna be. Are you gonna be who you are within, or are you gonna be who somebody tells you to be? And if it's not who you are, then if you don't have a strong foundation, I feel like I've always had a strong foundation.
Uh-huh.
Um, my parents always told us at a young age that we were enough, that you don't have to find
Right.
out. And I kind of learned that too. I was an oddball growing up, you know.
Right.
I went to a very strict church, and we had to wear skirts. We weren't allowed to wear pants. So when I went to school, I was the oddball in the winters, in Detroit winters, with
Okay.
skirt on. But so that kind of trained me to be not with the crowd, so to speak. So once I got older, the idea of not fitting in doesn't bother me. So if somebody approaches me with something that I don't want to do, or if I feel like it compromises who I am, it's not hard for me to say no, because I don't desire to fit in anyway.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I want to say is thank you for the soulful melody that you portray in your music. Literally every song that I've heard so far has been a great, great song. You have great producers that you work with, and you write a certain kind of way. Now, I know, and in the industry, they try to change how the music, it's not really soulful and it's not telling the story and stuff like it used to. That's what real R&B is about. And
Hmm.
that's what your music is. So
Hmm.
what was it that made you focus on that particular type of music?
So first I'll say, you mentioned producers. My brother did the music to all of the songs on Evolution.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's amazing with music. So we've always kind of been a little bit of a duo. And he did most of the songs on the other two albums, but it's been like my dad did some on the first album, and then I found another producer that did a couple of songs. But to get back to your question about why I write that way, I feel like a lot of writers want to, but the industry, because I spent some time in the songwriting world, working with a major publisher, and the powers that be, they sort of have a thing that they want out, and
Right.
people wonder why they're not hearing a certain type of lyric, and that's by design. They don't. My opinion is that it's being held back, basically. Um,
Right.
And so, because I feel like a true writer, a lot of the times when you hear stuff and you say, what is this crap? I don't feel like the writer is proud of that. They're probably doing it because they feel like they have to.
Right.
But a real writer is trying to get you're trying to get something across. Like, you want the person to feel good. You want them to feel understood. You want them to be able to relate to what you're saying and ultimately be inspiring in some way. And that's the core of, my goal in life, is to be of service and to help people, the same way that I need help at times, and the songs that have helped me, have a better understanding of a situation, and I want to give that back. So that's always something that's just in me when I write.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful thing, because you're sticking to who you are as a person. And I think that's what makes R&B so good, because you're able to tell your story the way you want to tell it. And
Yeah.
it's meaningful, you
Yeah.
know.
And R&B is all about soul. It's
Yes.
about being meaningful and having a positive impact. Like, you should feel warm and
Yeah.
cozy after you've listened to some good R&B.
Yeah. And
So
the problem I had with your album in the car is I would listen to a song and I was like, oh man, I gotta hear that again, and I rewind it and play it again. So it takes me forever to get through the album, but
oh, that's a good thing.
I kept rewinding it. But what has been your biggest challenge in doing this music?
Ooh, child, what has been the biggest challenge? Well, I'm newly back to music, so it's been a long time. Like, the last album I released prior to this Evolution album was in 2005. Now,
Right,
back then it was CDs. Like, streaming wasn't even a thing.
right.
I'm trying to think. I don't even think iTunes. It still might have been Napster, where people were Napster and LimeWire. I don't know, but it was CDs, and it was all traditional. You're
Yeah,
trying to get on the radio, you get your music to the DJs to play and all of that. So, having left the industry when it was still very traditional, and then coming back now where everything is different, it's all
right.
fine. It's all about streaming and downloads and TikTok. And
Yeah,
I was like, I had to dive in and learn, relearn the industry. It was exciting on the one hand, because traditionally it's very much a gatekeeper type of place. Like, you have to get through the gatekeepers, and the gatekeepers are not it's difficult, we'll say that. Now that has changed a lot. The gates are open.
right.
But then the con to that is that there's so much out there that you have to fight through all of that to be heard. So, to me, the biggest challenge is getting exposure.
Yeah,
Getting exposure, getting the music out to those ears. When it's like,
yeah,
what the number is, I think they said it was something like 11 million songs are released a day or something like that. So,
yeah,
a lot of content being put out, and you're fighting with algorithm for
yeah,
views and stuff.
yeah.
So that part is challenging.
Well, I see that you're posting a lot of music now. You singing,
Yeah.
and I see your followers steadily going up.
Yeah.
So you're definitely reaching people.
Yeah.
Uh, with that being said, what has been um, your greatest, I guess I can say your greatest feats that you've done so far?
So, the song that I was originally pushing off the album was "I Do," and that one passed. Well, it's I'm trying to see it. I think it's past 150,000 streams. But I was
Oh wow.
celebrating it at the 100,000 stream mark, but it's past 150 now, and I haven't checked it in a little bit, so I don't know exactly what it is. But the album is almost at 300,000 streams. So,
Nice.
big deal. It was like, man, this is hard. Just getting, putting the content out there, promoting, and just trying to get people to go to Spotify and go to Apple Music, and playlists, trying to get people to put it on their playlist and stuff like that. So, but that was a good thing to get that many streams. You know, it's like
Yeah.
it's a small win, but in the grand scheme of things, it's like when you think about it, you know, you had 100,000 people listening to your
Right.
song. So
Yeah.
that was
And
cool.
if you add up everybody on all the platforms, it's way more than that.
Mhm.
You know, so that is a great feat. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
What is your ultimate goal for your music career?
So my ultimate goal, I have like a specific goal with evolution. It's very lofty. Okay. It sounds wild and crazy, but I would like for evolution to get 1 billion streams. Now, you don't really hear of independent artists doing that. There's a few that have.
Right.
And I'm following their stories, and like Brent Fayez is one, like his album. I mean, and he's almost like a major artist, but he's been independent the entire time. Never been with a major label, and his album Wasteland did 1 billion streams, I feel like in like 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
He's built up a huge audience. And so it's just inspirational to see artists do that who are not signed to a major label. And I know they have teams too, you know, so
Right.
still it's very encouraging.
Well, I can tell you right now, we here at WCEG is going to promote your music. I think it's great. Your like like I said, it's just soulful, good music, and I think that's something that we're lacking. You know, we used to hear music like that back in the day, and then all of a sudden, people just decided to just start talking about sex all the time and doing it this way and doing it that way and all kind of stuff, and how they the baddest and all this kind of stuff, but nobody is singing about life, about, you know, your feelings, and, you know, about I mean, just putting out true music, true R&B music. And that's what yours is. I love it. I was sitting there listening to it. I was like, man, this is amazing. I know it's going to do well, and I'm going to keep you in my prayers for that, because it's going to do very well.
Thank you. I
Very
appreciate
well.
that. Really.
Now, your first album, um, JLE, That's Me.
Yes.
Now, doing your first album, was that like the experimental album to see how people going to take you? You know, what was the thought behind that first album?
Yeah, the first album, I was still very new as a writer. And so I was just like, I had my dad and my brother, and they would make music and give me the track. And I'm like, ooh, let me write to this. And so I think I was just kind of exploring my writing skill and just kind of trying to hone that. Um, and yeah, I was in the very beginning stages back then.
Right,
So when I
right.
look back, when I listen to the first album now, I laugh. I'm like, ah, and then I hear my voice, I sound so young. But you know, you can tell that I've always been very message based and just trying to encourage people to you know, I don't know, be encouraged with their lives
Yeah,
and not be distracted by what the world is trying to show them or get them to do. That's just
right.
always there, and you hear a lot of that on that first album. But yeah, that was the beginnings. Like I had written a lot of songs prior to that, but I think the very first song I ever wrote that was not gospel, it was a country song. And
Okay.
yeah, so then this album was the next, that this was after that. So this was my first little entryway into R&B.
So let's talk about that, because I just, you know, as you know, Beyonce just came out with this country album,
Yeah.
and you touched on country, so that's why I want to talk about it for a second. You know, because what Black people don't understand is that country is the root of our music. You
Yeah.
know, honestly,
Yeah.
but but they have taken it from the white people have taken it from the black people and made it seem like we don't belong in that category.
Yeah.
Cause that's why Beyonce did this album, because when she did a song with the country singer back then, they treated her horribly and basically kicked her out of the country realm. And she's like, okay, well, I'm gonna show y'all. I'm gonna come back and do an album. Now she's got one of the hottest albums out. And I'm just like, that's how you do it. How do
Yeah.
you feel about country? And actually putting out, because I definitely want to hear that country song that you're talking about.
I have
But
to
how
look
do you feel
that up.
about it?
It's a good one. I love country music. I've always loved country, and I've always seen like country and R&B sitting right next to each other because
Yeah,
they're both very story based. You know,
right,
it's very story based. So it's like a storyteller genre, the same way that R&B is. It just
uh-huh,
has a different musical style underneath it. So
yes,
I've always had a love for the style simply, well, I won't say simply because, but one of the main aspects is the storytelling of it that
right.
reminds me of R&B. It just has a different little bit of a flair. But yeah, I love to see artists of any race doing country. It's like
Right.
that genre doesn't belong to anybody.
Exactly. That's how I feel. I don't believe any genre of music belong to anybody.
Mhm.
But, I think that because I didn't know that there was so many black country artists
Yeah,
until recently. There was a ton of them, but
yeah,
you don't really hear about them like that.
yeah, yeah. That's very true. That's very true. So Beyonce stepping into that lane did kind of open the door, you know,
Yes.
like, oh, now you need to acknowledge this person and that person and
Right.
open it up.
And I think that's what needs to happen in a lot of different situations. Us as black people, we can't be afraid to step out our box a little bit and
Mhm.
change the norm, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
because that norm can turn into something really big,
Mhm.
because people didn't think hip hop was gonna last long. They thought it was a fad that was gonna go away.
Mhm.
But it wound up being commercials, TV, everywhere.
Yep.
It's the thing now.
Everywhere. Yeah, and I mean, you notice like the genres borrow from each other because
They
country
do.
has gotten more R&B over the years.
Yeah.
You'll hear some hip hop in the music, some R&B tones in there, and so it's the genres are starting to blend more.
So is that something that you look forward to doing futuristically? Do you see yourself collaborating like with country artists, R&B artists, hip hop artists, maybe even gospel artists? I can see you connecting with a lot of different things to cross over into all those different lanes. Is that an idea that you plan to do?
Oh yeah, I love most genres. So I would love to collab in almost all of them. It's only like I feel like heavy metal. I'm not
Right, right.
probably won't see a collab with me there. But I love music in general. R&B is my favorite genre, but I love mostly all of the genres. And a good song is a good song, and a good
Yes,
voice,
it is.
and so I think that would be fun to collaborate in different genres, especially genres I haven't tried. Like I've done a rock song, and kind of dabbled a little bit in that. So, but never like a full album, just like a song here and there. So yeah,
Okay.
I appreciate all those genres. I would love to collab.
Now, if someone came to you today and said, "Who was the number one female you want to collab with today?" Who would that be?
Oh, wow. The number one female that I would want to collab with. Oh, goodness. That's hard. I'm trying to like my brain is trying to narrow it down.
Right, right. There's a lot of good artists out there.
So this person popped into my head just because I am really obsessed with her voice. The tone in her voice is just ridiculous. Her.
Yeah.
love her. She has a commercial nationwide. So
Yeah.
I'm sitting, on my phone and the TV is on and I hear this commercial of her voice and I'm like, how do you make a nationwide song? Found this amazing. Like, come on. Yeah.
Man,
I
I know
would
what you're talking about.
yeah, I love her voice. I would be beyond myself with her collaboration. Sure.
And male artists.
Male artist. Oh man, that's also tough. That is tough. Um, hey, it's two. Can I do?
Okay.
I'm gonna give an obvious one. This, but Usher. I would love to do a collab with Usher because he's just
Okay.
like very in the pocket of R&B. But Daniel Caesar, I love his voice. I love his voice. And I
Okay. You know what's funny? I just heard of him not too long ago. I know he's been out, but I literally just heard of him not too long ago.
really, oh
Yeah.
yeah, his voice is just buttery and I love it. Yeah. So Daniel Caesar, yeah, I'll do those two.
Okay. Usher been getting people in trouble, but okay.
Yeah, his shows definitely do.
That's just fun. But I look at a lot of news and stuff and see what's going on in the entertainment industry, and Usher has been getting people in trouble left and right. I be laughing because the dude's just an entertainer,
Uh-huh.
and when he's in the mode in his moment, he just go with it. He don't care
Uh-huh.
what it look like, whatever. But it always sells. He always get people talking about his show.
He does. And look, that's Usher's gonna do Usher. You
Yeah.
can't do Usher's show and not get Usher. Like Drake too. Like people don't talk a lot about his singing voice because he's a rapper, but I just feel like his voice is so buttery. Like I would love to do a Drake collab too, because he could do the rap part too, and then come in and sing.
Now he did a whole song on his album that was him singing.
Really,
A couple of times, yeah. He actually can sing pretty good.
really like his voice. Like it just he has a great tone. It's like super low and just
Yeah.
smooth. So
Y'all would do great because your tone is almost similar,
uh-huh.
and y'all would kill a song together. That would be awesome.
I think that would be a dope collab.
I can see that. I could definitely see that. That would be awesome.
You're watching Drake, being
Now you also dibble dabble in acting a little bit. Um, Now, I'm sure when it comes to singing and acting, singing is your number one passion.
yeah.
But you mostly focus on the voiceover part of the acting career. How's that been going for you? And
Yes,
why voiceover?
I love voiceover. I just love it. Ever since I was little, I used to watch the animated movies and the Disney movies that would come
Mhm.
out in the theaters, and I always wanted to be one of the voices that was singing. Like Rio is one of my favorite little animation movies, and
Okay.
to be one of the singers who was acting in an animated movie. And so I don't know, I've always just been drawn to voiceover. So I got into it not too long ago. I was like, you know what? Let me just go ahead and fulfill this bucket list and get into voiceover. I can do an animated film. And so I got into it and I did end up doing a show called LOL House of Surprises.
Okay.
They're like I think they're a big doll company, but they have a series. I wasn't familiar with them until I got the show, and then I learned all of my friends and their kids were like, "Oh, my daughter loves that show," or whatever. So I think their first season was on Netflix, and then they went to YouTube. So I played Lady Braids in season two,
Okay.
and it was so much fun. I loved it. Love. I really haven't gotten into the on camera portion of acting just because I'm like, I'm very drawn to the voiceover, and to me, it's
Right.
different. You know, like I don't know, I feel like with voiceover, you do have to become the character, but you become it differently than when you're on camera. When you're on
Right.
camera, there's no separation. What I learned just from going to a few classes, I used to think that acting was acting, and
Right.
got to play a character. And what I learned is like, no, you have to become that character. There is no acting. And if you don't become it, then it's going to look like you're just acting, and so it basically is a lot harder than I thought it was. It takes a lot of concentration and
Yeah.
training to do it. So, but it is very fascinating. It's definitely something that I feel like would challenge me at a very different level. And I'm interested in it, but I haven't dove into it. But I love voiceover.
What about musicals? Have you ever thought about that?
So I would love to do a musical. And I actually wrote a musical. So
Really?
I did a feature film. I wrote a feature film musical around my album, Evolution.
Okay.
Yeah. And so that, I would love to see that come together. But outside of that, I would love to do a musical. Like Dreamgirls is one of my favorite, at least more recent. I thought that was just a very well done musical. Bill Condon is amazing. And I like the older ones too, like Little Shop of Horrors. That's one of my favorites.
Okay.
I would love to do a musical, and I would get it together and figure out how to become to be in a musical for sure.
Now, I want to go back to the albums. Your second album was A Thousand Wings.
Yeah,
What was the thought process behind that particular album?
Thousand Wings. So A Thousand Wings. Yeah, I was living in LA and I was ready to do my next album. So I came back to Detroit. So I was like, I need to write this, and my brother was there. And I don't know that I had necessarily a thought for the entire album. I was just kind of writing what I felt. And so, there's some angry songs on there, like Just Breathe. I remember dealing with a particular person that inspired that song. But yeah, that was me also stretching my legs more, ready to get back into writing and exploring different topics. Um, yeah, so I don't know that I had necessarily a direction, but the Thousand Wings, the song, I named the album after the song that's on there. And
Right.
that song is about a love that makes you feel like you're flying with 1,000 wings. And so, that's me just going back to my inspirational roots and
Yes.
imagery. I like to bring in some metaphors and bring in some of that old style poetry into music.
Gotcha. And you did the first album was in 2003, your second album was 2005, and then there was a long span.
Yes.
And you came out with your third album, Evolution.
Yeah.
And that came out in 23.
Yep. And November 10th of 2023.
Now, in that span of time, now definitely, if anybody listened to your album, because like I've been listening to them, because I went through first and listened to snippets of all the albums. Then I went and bought them all and started listening to them one at a time. And one thing you can hear is the growth in this third album. So what was it in this third album that said, okay, this is gonna be a whole different ball game, you know?
Yeah. So this album, I feel like, and I called it Evolution because the album is it's like the product of my evolution.
Okay.
I'm in a space now where I'm still, like I was not quite sure who I was and where I belonged. And I feel like I was very what's the word? I was highly influenced by, what people said. And one of the things that kind of made me stop doing music back then was, I was dealing with A&Rs that were like, you about to be too old. And I was like 22, 23. Oh, about to be too old. Oh no. And I'm freaking out. Oh no, I'm about to be too old. Because when it comes to the females, they don't want to sign you unless you are a child.
Yes.
And I bought into that concept and, put up my own little clock, where it was like, well, I have to do this by this time. Otherwise, it'll be too late, and things like that. So by the time this album came around, I didn't think I would ever do music again. I had put it away and, I got into songwriting, and the industry just was so shady that I was like, I'm done. I'm never doing it again. And so, by the time it came around this time, it wasn't about being successful at all. I missed it. I was like, I miss doing music. I miss writing. I haven't sat down and wrote a whole album in all of this time. Who cares if it succeeds? I need this for me at this point, because I haven't utilized my gift in a while. And it was literally food for my soul, just writing it and recording it. And at the time I was like, I don't know if music is just kind of dead now. I don't even know where you take it. I just want, because it's been too long and I don't see this kind of music out there, and I kind of try, and you kind of you got to have a lot of independence to get around the industry in order to even bring out lyrical balance like this. I'm like, I'm going to do my part, and, whoever wants this type of music, I'm going to, put together an album, and whoever wants it can listen to it. And I hope they enjoy it. But I really did it to do it again, because I feel so good. It's just one of those things that if you're not doing your purpose, whether you're succeeding with it or not, there is a hole there, So I just wanted to.
Now, most people put out singles to see how people feel in songs. You put out albums.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the thought process behind that? Because, you literally obviously have a lot of music in your mind, or write a lot. So you have enough music to just constantly put out. But you put out everything, like just album. What's the thought behind that? Because a lot of people are very afraid to put out albums. They just try to test the waters all the time.
Yes, I'm very big on albums. It's funny you mentioned that, because all of the information that's out there now is do singles only. And I'm like, oh, why? Because the way that I like to listen to music, I want to hear a body of work. One song is not enough, like I want to see like what you have to say, from song to song. And I just want to be able to sit down. Like if I like you, I want to hear more than just one, so and maybe like you just have one, I might put you on a playlist that may or may not get played. If you have an album out and I like you, I'm going to listen to your whole album, and that might become morning routine for a while. So it's the way that I like to consume music. So, I just feel like doing one song to me is just like taking one fry out of the out of the box. It's not enough.
Yeah. I feel you on that. I don't think I ever thought of it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to people's a song here, and I'll be the same way. I'm like, man, what else they got? And I start looking to try to see what else they got, and there's nothing else with this song. And it takes forever for them to come out with another song, but you have music to listen to and get to know you by, because you could tell writers who write from their heart, who write from experience, who write from, the things that they went through in life, the things they aspire to be or have went through. You have definitely put all that into your music. And I'm sure that's what you want people to get to know when they listen to music. You want them to know who you are as an artist.
Yes. I feel like I have a lot to say. And so say it all in one song, and I recorded 18 songs for this album, and I picked 12, and I was like, okay, I'm done. Let's just go ahead and do this. It went on. But, writing for me, I think it depends. And, if I don't think it's bad to do singles, and if that's, your vibe, it's like, hey, go with that. But a song to me it's not hard to come by. So ask me to do one song and just put that out and wait 6 months. I'm like, what can I do? 5? Can I do 10? Because I can do that in 2 weeks. It's all time for me to write a song. So maybe that plays into it too. It comes easy to me.
Wait a minute. So you can write songs and stuff in like a week or 2?
So I wrote in 30 minutes. It just depends on how the music hit me, because that song, my album, I thought was done, and I sent it to my brother and my dad to listen to, and then my brother sent me that track before they listened to him, and I'm like, well, I'm done. I don't need another track. And so I listened to it, and I was just like, I gotta write to this now. It spoke to me immediately, and I couldn't write fast enough. Like, it was like the words was just flowing. Yeah, sometimes it's like 30 minutes. Sometimes it might take an hour. Sometimes I might spend a couple hours, and then I'm like, okay, I got to come back to this. And maybe I'll come back a week later. It just depends on how I'm feeling. But generally speaking, I can write a song pretty fast. And being writing with the publisher kind of made that, it kind of trains you, because I wrote at least 100 songs with them.
Right. Man, you know what? I could talk to you about this forever. and it's almost time for the show to be over.
Oh wow, this is fast.
I know, right? If to people who are listening to you right now, who are trying to be a singer-songwriter, what advice would you give them to push forward in their career?
I would say you have to follow your heart and do it. Don't try to do it, just do it. And when you make the decision to do it, things just start falling into place. Like, the universe will conspire to help you. You hear that a lot, like, God got you. And if you just keep that in your mind, because a lot of times we start to doubt ourselves and, wonder if we should do this thing or not. But if you have a gift and you can acknowledge that it's a gift, then it was given to you for a reason. So do it. Just do it. Don't think about it. Do it.
Yes. And to piggyback on that, I just want to tell people, just like you, believe in yourself and don't let anybody change what your idea of who you are is. There's a lot of people out here who try to change. Speaking of that, I got one more question for you. It just hit me. There has been a lot of exposure going on lately in the industry, in the entertainment industry, of people who has done women wrong, men too, mostly women in this industry, and they're being exposed right now. When you see stuff like that going on, I'm sure you've probably been through some stuff. I'm not sure what you've been through, but I'm sure you have been through some stuff, being in this career as long as you have. What do you say about when you see what's going on in the entertainment now? Because this year has just been crazy with exposing people. It's just been an onslaught of it. How do you feel about that when you see that?
There's 2 things that come to mind. One is it's a reminder that the grass isn't as green as you might think. You might see somebody standing up on top of a hill and you think that everything is wonderful and they got there, in a great way, but that's not necessarily the case. And sometimes when you don't get there, or you don't get there as fast as what you would like to have gotten there, maybe that was your protection. I look at a lot of things that I'm seeing about the exposure, and it's like, sometimes you're being protected, because it's a lot of things going on, but what happens in the dark always comes to light eventually.
Yes, it does.
Even the things that, when people look like they're having the best life because they have money, you don't know what they're actually experiencing, you know.
Right.
Don't. So it's also a reminder not to covet what your neighbor has. You don't know what they went through to get it. You don't know
Right.
what they're still going through. And it's on the other hand, it's good to see that people can't get away with things forever.
That's
At
true.
some
Yeah.
point the rain will end.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a good thing to know, because sometimes it feels like, oh, this person is just getting away with this thing, and why? And so it's like, okay, you just have to remember, put it in God's hands, and
Yeah.
things that need to be brought to light will come, and whatever needs to happen from there will.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the times they're afraid to say anything also because the person is very powerful and they can blackball them and end their whole career. You see a lot of that going on, and it's just really sad what's happened in the past. But hopefully everything that's been going on now, people can say, okay, I need to be on the straight and narrow now, because now these women not afraid to come out and expose
Yeah,
expose.
that's another thing. I think it will make people move more carefully, because
Right.
I feel like they can do whatever they want and get away with it. And when they are powerful the way that some of them are, they do have the power to blackball and
Yeah.
be. So, I don't blame anybody for not speaking up. You have to calculate when the right time for you is. And that
Yes.
all depends on who you're dealing with and what they're capable of. And you just gotta kind of let yourself be guided in that. But when people do come out, it's like, thank you, because it doesn't help the next person come out. So it's interesting. 2024 has definitely been the
Yeah.
year of exposure.
Yes, it has. It
Yeah.
has been. So, how can people reach you on social media, contact you, find your music?
Yeah, so I'm on Instagram, at Jennifer.Edison. I'm on all of the streaming platforms, Apple Music, Spotify, YouTube. My YouTube I think it's just Jennifer Edison. Facebook, I'm on there, Jennifer Edison. TikTok, I think it's Jennifer.Edison. But I'm on most of the social media platforms, but Instagram is probably the main one that I'm on. So definitely follow me on there, Jennifer.Edison. And then my website is jenniferedison.com. And on there you can get merch. I have t-shirts and sweatshirts, hoodies, hats.
Okay.
Also selling the CD, because a lot of people were asking me for a physical CD. And I didn't know people were still buying these, but it's becoming a thing. So I have the physical CD on my website, and then I'm selling the download directly on my website also.
Nice. And you heard it directly from Jennifer Edison herself. Ladies and gentlemen, Jennifer Edison, I am so happy to have you on. Thank you so much for your time, taking the time out. You're over in Cali, you 3 hours behind us out here in Atlanta, but you took the time out to do this interview. I truly appreciate you. Um, thank you for your music. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please go and get the album. Don't go through the songs. Get the album. The album is dope. Her newest album, Evolution, is amazing. It is a beautiful song, but check all three albums out. JLE, That's Me, that's her first album. A Thousand Wings is the second album, and Evolution is her third album. I have not stopped listening to it. I love the music. It sounds great. The music, the sound, her voice is amazing. Trust me, you're gonna love her music. So make sure you go download her music, listen to it, and hit us up at WCEG. Let us know what you think about her music. Also, hit her up. She just gave you her handle. Go and follow her. Hit her up. Let her know how much you like her music and everything. And we here at WCEG will be promoting you and promoting your album and making sure everybody knows that it's out right now. Um, and before I go, I can't leave without saying congratulations again to the queen of WCEG, Penny Rogers, who will be honored at the National Black Radio Hall of Fame. She deserves every bit of that. And when I started, I was just like, what? I didn't know what to say. I was just so happy for her. So when I see you, Penny, I got to give you a big hug and congratulate you. But I'm very excited about that, and we here at WCEG Wood, the Hollywood of the South. Thank you, Jennifer, once again for coming on. This is Wardell Richardson on WCEG Wood, Hollywood of the South, signing out. Peace. Jennifer, don't go nowhere.
Great show. We're still live. You all hear the background music? Can you hear no matter what? I love that.
Oh, I don't hear it.
Oh, you playing her music?
Yes, I've been listening to different songs throughout the broadcast. You all couldn't hear it, but thank you so much. Wonderful interview.